Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be slightly different. It's going to be the best tops to wear if you're an apple shape. So it's very similar to my best dresses for an apple shape, which I will link somewhere up here for you to see if you've not seen that already. But I thought it would just be good to do a tops video for this because I think sometimes it's quite hard to dress for your shape. I think I struggle a lot as well with sort of wearing the best items I can to really emphasize my best points. And I am an apple shape, so I do carry most of my weight around my middle, and I have a filler bust as well. I'm actually quite broad shouldered, so there's a lot to work with in terms of looking for items to wear. Hopefully this video will just give you a little bit of guidance as to the do's and don'ts really in terms of what apple shapes should be going for when we're going for tops. Obviously it's absolute personal preference as to what you prefer to wear. I still have a lot of tops that I know are probably not the most flattering for my shape, but I just love them. So yeah, stick with me and we'll go through some knitwear, CAMI, sort of going out tops, some fashion pieces. Just want to show that we can still wear a lot of what's out there in terms of knitwear and velvet, for example, which is on trend this season and things like that, but it's just how we need to tailor them to suit our shapes better. And it's not about sort of covering up and hiding away, it's more about thinking in terms of trying to emphasize what you have and what your best bits are. Don't think about it in terms of what do I need to cover up, think about it in terms of what can I emphasize. I think that's a much more positive way to start dressing. Let's get into it. If you do enjoy the video, please do subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Okay, so the first top I'm going to talk about then are CAMI tops. Now, I tend to shy away from CAMI tops just because, as you know, I'm not 100% chuffed with my arms and I feel I'm quite broad shouldered, but when I do go for a CAMI top I tend to go for those that have got thicker straps. I find that when I have a too thin strap like spaghetti strap CAMI with my shape, it just makes me look bigger and I feel like I don't have enough support. The great thing about having thicker straps as well is you can just wear a normal bra and don't have to go and buy a specialist bra for this kind of top. So this top is fantastic for an apple shape because it has this soft V which kind of draws the eye upwards, it elongates the neck and kind of moves you away from any problem areas. It's also really nice because it's a very flowy, kind of loose fit fabric, which is nice, and it kind of just skims over this problem area section, kind of skims over the waist here, giving a little bit of shape and ends at a really nice point, both at the front, which means that the tummy is covered, but then also at the back as well. You can see it kind of just gives a little bit of a shape over my bottom. This is a great top. If you're looking for an alternative to, you know, like a thin strap camisole, check these out from ASOS. It comes in white as well. So, you know, picking up this in white, picking up this in black, you've got your basics covered in terms of camis for an apple shape if you want to be a little bit more covered up, but still look and feel quite sexy. So keeping on with camis, the next top I picked up from ASOS was just this cami, just to show you that, you know, apple shaped girls can still wear fashion styles. Sticking with the same sort of style rules really, you know, a looser flowy fitting top, but not too flowy that it's just unflattering and looks like you're trying to hide away. Make sure that it ends at a nice flattering point here, shows a little bit of shape at the back if you're, you know, wearing jeans or something with it, and it has a nice V-neck. Show this top point here because I think that's very flattering for us. And if you are finding your arms a problem area, tops like this that kind of detract away from that with some fashion detailing, I think are quite flattering. So this kind of top, fashion styles can be worn by apple shapes. They don't have to just be boring, simple camis. It's just about thinking, how do we adapt those shapes and those fashion styles for our shape? My preference is going for knitwear that's not too chunky, so I'm going to show you a couple of chunky styles in a moment, but my preference is a lighter, finer gauge knitwear. So this jumper is cashmere. Now it doesn't have to be a cashmere jumper or a wool jumper, but whatever you do find, I think for our apple shapes it's better to go for slightly finer knits, but they can still keep you warm depending on the composition. So for me it's more about having the V-neck, it's having a lighter knit. And I've got this exact jumper in a round neck, which I will split screen and show you. And I think you can see it's much more flattering having the V-neck than it is having the round neck. I lived in the round neck last season, but I've been more conscious of just trying to find styles that are a bit more flattering on me rather than being so dogged on just what I like. So I think it's much more flattering in the V-neck, and I'll probably try and get this in the black as well. But that's probably my main style rule in terms of knitwear that I follow for the winter. It's just trying to get finer gauge knitwear with a V-neck, with some neck detail possibly, something just to detract away from the fact that knitwear is a little bit of a heavier fabric and will add a bulk to us. It doesn't have to be in grey, you know, this is just coming from my wardrobe as I say, so it's just my colours, but it can be in any knit. But just try and find a fabric that is slightly finer, a little bit more form-fitting to our body shapes, which is kind of, I guess, goes against what you tend to think. You're thinking I need to have a big old knit that will cover me, but actually it's better to have something that's a little bit more form-fitting to give a little bit more shape, still keep you warm, and don't forget that V-neck. So with chunky knitwear, it's always difficult because it just does naturally add added bulk to you because of the nature of the knit. So what I've tried to do with my chunky knits is pick a piece that's got something going on elsewhere, like this top on the arms, to kind of draw your eye away, still try to maintain some sort of V-neck here, and pick a style that hasn't got any added sort of cable knits, bobbles, anything extra on it. It's just a thicker knit, but try to keep it as limited in terms of added texture as possible. It's from COS, and I love this knit because it has got that voluminous sleeve. Just adds something extra and kind of balances out my proportions, I think, a bit better on the top. It's got this nice raised neck here, which I think is quite a nice style detail, and then not a very deep V-neck. So I think it's quite a nice top because of the structure of it. It draws your eye to many different places and not naturally here first. Again, it ends at quite a nice area here at the front and at the back. It's not too long, and it's got a nice texture on the neck, as you can see here. This is the kind of knitwear that I would go for in the winter. I don't have many styles like this because I just don't like wearing chunky knitwear. But if I were to buy more chunky knitwear, I'd kind of follow these kind of rules. Try and look for something with added design detail elsewhere, like on the arms here, or a nice little neck detail, for example. Try to avoid cable knits and added bubbles and details like that, apart from your Christmas jumper, which you can do whatever you want with that. It's one free pass for the day. Wrap shapes are our best friends, both in terms of dresses and in tops. So it's just any top that kind of mimics this wrap detail here. I think it's very flattering on an apple shape. This top is actually in 100% silk, so it's a really nice loose fitting flowy fabric, which is great, but you can get very similar decent polyester and other fabrics that do the same thing. Slightly shorter than I would like. I wish it was a couple of centimeters longer, but getting a top in this V-neck with this wrap detail here, I think is a really flattering on an apple shape. It's also got slightly longer sleeves and a looser fit here, so all that worry I have about my top problem area is totally eliminated in this top. I feel very comfortable in it. It ends, as I said, slightly too short, but following the same formula of covering up the problem area just slightly, ending in a place that you can see some nice shape in your behind, and in a colour that again you feel comfortable in. It doesn't have to be black. It's black because it comes from my wardrobe, so the majority of my items are quite dark colours. I've got a printed red top to show you next in the same kind of wrap detail, just to show you that it doesn't have to be black, but following the same formula for an apple shape, a wrap top I think is fantastic. So this wrap top is from ASOS. I had to add a vest just to cover my modesty, but you can see the formula is pretty much the same as the last top I showed you. So it has this wrap detail here, and what's nice about this is it's got this seam just across here, which kind of just adds a little bit of extra waisting detail, and the slight peplum I think is really flattering for an apple shape. Basically the formula is very much the same as the other top I showed you, ending at a nicer length here, so it's slightly lower than the other top, but again the arms are covered, which I love, and there's a nice V-neck here, so just drawing the eye all the way over here and kind of detracting from your problem area, which is also helped with this little peplum here. The fabric is super light and super loose, and this kind of top can work, as you can see, in a brightly coloured print. It can work in a solid, it can work in a longer sleeve. It doesn't have to be short sleeves, and it doesn't have to be just plain solid. So I hope you can see how a wrap shaped top is really, really flattering on an apple shape. Okay, so the next item I'm going to show you is this velvet top. So it's a velvet wrap top, so I guess it's following on from the wrap styles, but this is me talking about more trend fabrics and more trickier fabrics. So as you know, velvet is quite a tricky fabric for us to wear because it's quite bulky, and that's the same on skirts and bottoms, velvet trousers, velvet skirts, velvet dresses. All of those types of product in velvet are quite difficult for us, but what I like about this top, I think it's a bit too short on me. I wish it was a little bit longer, but I am 5'8" and I'm wearing heels for this video, so you know, bear that in mind. Trickier fabrics can still be worn by apple shapes. We just need to apply the style rules, if you like, to make it work for us. So as you know, velvet is slightly more bulky. What we try and do is find a little bit of a flatter velvet. So this is not as thick as a lot of velvet that's out there. Yes, it's velvet and it's a trickier fabric for us apple shapes, but it being wrap, having that peplum, and also being in just a darker colour, which is more flattering, I think is kind of workable. It's going to be a great little top for party season. I think, you know, it's a cute, fun little style to wear if you do still want to be following that velvet trend, be on trend, but have a little bit more of a tricky shape to pull that off. Go for something like this. So another tricky fabric for us ladies can be satin. So this is a satin pyjamas shirt that I picked up also from ASOS. Now, I love this because it again shows that we can wear trend pieces, but you can see what the formula is on this shirt. It has again got a nice wrap detail here. So I think this looks super flattering on our shape. It's a little bit more relaxed. It follows the wrap detail. It's got nice piping details here, and even though it's satin, it's not sort of clinging onto any lumps and bumps that we don't want it to. So satin can be really unflattering if it's very form-fitting. So you know those lovely satin dresses, satin cami tops, all these kind of things, they look fantastic, but I find for myself personally, I just can't wear them. I can't get away with them because it highlights every single lump and bump everywhere. So something like this, if you do like satin, is a great alternative because it's a style piece, it's a trend piece, it's still got our fundamental rules that we would use for an apple shape. I think it's just super flattering. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say apart from I love it. Okay, so this super soft coupe pro top from Zara is a perfect example of something workwear wise, which I think really, really works for an apple shape. So it's got, again, it's a V-neck here, but it's very tasteful. It's not too V'd at all. I like the fact that it's got, again, slightly longer sleeves. I always roll up my sleeves, so anything that I have will just be rolled up further, but this is how it looks just normally. So I tend to tuck it in because I tend to wear it with the blazer, and I think a blazer is a girl's best friend, particularly us apple shapes. It kind of just streamlines our shape, and I'll show you this on with the blazer. So this is what it looks like when I just tuck it in like so. Untucked, this is what the shirt looks like. So obviously you've got creasing here because I've been tucking it in, but it's a really nice loose top anyway. Not too loose, but it's just a nice, lovely, well-fitting fabric. It goes down at the back. This is different from other tops in the sense that it does cover my bottom, but then it's actually up at the sides here. So even though the bottom's covered, you get to see a little bit more of the leg because of the side detail being higher. So I'll pop this on with the blazer just so you can see what it looks like. And if I was wearing this in a work situation, I'd be wearing this with sort of more tailored black trousers as opposed to skinny jeans. I feel not only does it make me look smarter, but I think it just gives me a much more streamlined shape. So that's one option for a sort of like smarter outfit, and you can do this with just smarter trousers, so more tailored trousers, whether they're straight leg or skinny or cigarette pants, that kind of thing. But that kind of formula really works for blouses for an apple shape. Another workwear staple would have to be the classic white shirt. Now, I prefer to choose styles that don't have a collar because I can't wear them with a blazer. So I try to choose collarless styles, and I find them, I think, a little bit more flattering on my shape anyway. So this one is from Zara, and I like the fact that it's just got that simple V, but it hasn't got any collar detail. So I can pop this on with the blazer. It's got the sort of statement buttons, I think is a cute feature, and it's just got the slits up the side as well. So it's kind of doing an almost wrap at the top here, which I think is quite flattering for our shape. So I would not tuck this shirt in, but I would just pop a blazer on it, and it gives a really nice streamlined just pop of white here, which I'll show you. So in terms of shirts and blouses, I think they're really very flattering for apple shapes, whether or not they've got collars or not. That's just my personal preference. I think because you can kind of play around with how far down you undo the buttons, you can roll up the sleeves, and give a bit of more shape to our shapes. So I think definitely go for shirts and blouses. I think we can wear them quite well. Just try and make sure that when you're buying shirts and blouses that, you know, the placket here has got enough buttons and in the right places so that they don't pop and gape. I have been known to use pins and things just to make sure that there's no gaping, but really look for that, because that can probably detract a lot of people from buying shirts, because we all think, oh, our bigger boobs are going to gape. That's not always the case, as you can see from this shirt, and it's got, you know, a double placket as well to kind of just eliminate that. Popped on the blazer on top of the shirt, and because, as I said, it's collarless, it enables me to wear a blazer, and you can see it just adds a nice vertical stripe of colour, but I think gives a more streamlined silhouette. So shirts and blazers, blouses and blazers, tops and blazers are definitely my go-to in terms of just giving me a little bit more of a defined shape, and it's much better for a sort of smarter look or more corporate look if you're in a corporate office. Just making you feel a little bit more put together and kind of just skimming over any issues that you've got either around your waist or around your tummy, but still giving you some sort of shape. I'm just going to add a few added extras in terms of different shapes and styles that I think work for us. So this is a perfect example of a tunic top, which I think is fantastic. So it's got this added frill detail at the bottom, which I think is really not only super cute, but I think just adds a little bit of detraction away from just above the section, which we know is our trouble areas. So in my dresses to my favourite dresses video, which I will link for you to see, I have a frill dress that does exactly the same thing. It's just longer and it's got frill at the bottom. I think it really works for our shape because A-line shapes are really good for us. They kind of skim over our trouble area, give us a little bit more of a waist. I love the sleeves here because they're slightly more voluminous, if you like, so the proportions are balanced out better, but my arms are still covered. Again, the grid check is just a really cute print, and I think it just really works very well. Being, again, a light fabric, not adding too much bulk, but still giving us enough space in here to be able to eat. So I love this top. I think it's fantastic, and it will work really nice, better for summer, I think, than for now. But you can see just shape-wise, I think an A-line style with some frills, even though it's added fabric in the nicer area, an area that's more workable for us, which is just below our middle section. Okay, so keeping on with the frill type top, I think this top is great. It's got this nice layer, which I just like doing this too. It's got this nice over layer, and the fact that it's slightly tunic length I think is great as well. Even though it's got an added layer, it's not bulky at all, and it's just a really nice sort of going out top, if you like. I think, you know, looking for tops that have got little bits of overlayer or frills or things like that, but are not too super bulky, I think are a really, really good idea. Even though this is a round neck, because I wanted to kind of show a few tops, like the one I showed you previously, and this one, that's a round neck, so not everything is a V, because not everybody loves a V neck, and my favourite neckline has to be a round neck, as opposed to a V neck. So this kind of top works very well for me, because even though I'm not showing off anything here, just the proportion of it being slightly longer and having another added detail here just kind of detracts again away from anything that's going on here. It's very skimming, the fabric is very loose, so I think it works even though I'm not showing off any of my neckline whatsoever. These last 2 points really are just things to consider. So I would say that V-necks are more flattering on an apple shape, and I am a sucker for round necks. So all my t-shirts are round necks, but I realised that I should have V-necks in my wardrobe. I think they're more flattering, they're less boxy on my shape. So as you've seen through the video, all the V-necks have looked a lot more flattering than rounder shapes, I think. And this is looks quite boxy. So even though I bought this top in about 3 different colours in a round neck, now in hindsight, I think I should have probably got a V-neck tee. So I think I'm going to add some V-neck t-shirts to my wardrobe, just because I finally do realise on my body shape, I think they look more flattering and less boxy. If you're looking for basic t-shirts, have a mix and match of both, because obviously we have our preferences. So I do prefer rounder necks, but I feel that V-necks are more flattering. So mix and match, have, you know, maybe one black round neck, one grey V-neck, or that kind of thing, and just have a bit of a balance of different necklines. But I think you probably agree with me that if I had this white t-shirt in a V-neck shape, it probably would just look a little bit better. This top from Topshop Boutique is just the final top, which I would say it doesn't look awful, but I think it's quite rigid on my body shape. So I try and avoid too rigid fabrics. So I love all this sports luxe kind of fabrics, neoprenes and things like that. But I think the best types of shapes for apple, best types of fabric for apple shapes, sorry, are those that allow a bit more movement, that allow us to show off a bit more of what we've got, whether it's emphasizing our bust area in a positive way, showing off a bit more of a waist. I think it's better than more boxy fabric. So if I did pull the sleeves down, you can kind of see that it's not really doing a lot for me in terms of shape. It's just quite boxy. That's just a consideration to make really when looking at fabrics for an apple shape. It's just try and go for fabrics that will emphasize your best bits in the best way, and try and avoid fabrics that are too bulky, too rigid, and just make you look really boxy, despite personal preference. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it's given you sort of an idea of the types of shapes and fabrics we should be going for and with our apple shapes. Obviously, a lot of this is my own opinion and it's my preferences as well. But you know, you can adapt these sort of tips and tricks to suit you and to suit your own personal style. It's not me saying you must wear this and you mustn't wear this. It's just to give you sort of an idea and a sort of like a springboard, I guess, into adapting your own wardrobe. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any other product types that you would like to see in this series, do let me know in the comments below. And I will see you next time. Bye.